A caretaker poured boiling water on the man's legs, but surprisingly, the men didn't react at all. The caretaker couldn't believe it. Maybe the water wasn't hot enough. The caretaker touched the kettle. Wow, it's hot. He placed the hot kettle on the man's knees, but the men still didn't react. No way. Let me try again. He poured hot water onto the man's legs. The men looked calmly at the caretaker. Have you had enough fun? You really do not feel it. At that moment, the man's butler came in. What are you doing? That could burn his skin. The caretaker replied, It's nothing. I was just playing around. The man turned out to be a billionaire, paralyzed from the neck down, but he specifically hired this crook as his caretaker. The crook's name is Driss. When he fed the billionaire, he would stare at the billionaire's secretary's legs, and even directly feeding the food onto the billionaire's eyes. Now Driss had to put long stockings on the billionaire, as it helps promote blood circulation in the legs. Driss resisted strongly. What? I'm a grown man, and I must put flesh-colored stockings on this old man? That's too disgusting. No, I absolutely can't and won't do this. If this gets out, how can I live with dignity? I'll die if the blood doesn't get around. Driss hit the bed. I absolutely can't do this. This is my bottom line. But the next moment, Driss got down on the floor, put the stockings on the billionaire. Damn, these stockings can extend. Driss put the billionaire's feet on his shoulders, and the billionaire said, You're quite professional. I think you're a good fit for this job. Driss was suddenly speechless. The next moment, the billionaire took out a pair of gloves, and Driss asked, What are these for? I don't do laundry. The billionaire said calmly, When I need to defecate, you'll help me out with them. Driss became furious. What? You want me to help you get things out while you poop? I absolutely won't do this. Driss went to argue with the butler. Putting on long stockings was already my limit. I absolutely won't help him when he poops. Nobody would help him with it. This is a matter of principle, but it seems that Driss ended up doing it later. In the evening, Driss took the billionaire for a joyride in a Maserati. Driss hit the gas pedal heavily, even running red lights, overtaking car after car, and then a police car started chasing them from behind. Because Driss was speeding and ran red lights, rather than being scared, Driss made a bet with the billionaire. Bet 100 euros I can shake them off. The billionaire agreed to the bet. Driss hit the gas even heavier, weaving through the traffic. The powerful Maserati quickly shook off the police car. Driss was delighted. I won the bet. But suddenly, another police car appeared ahead and stopped Driss. Driss was forced to stop the car. The police officer got out of the car, pointing a gun at them, ordering them to get out of the vehicle immediately. Driss came up with another idea. Bet 200 euros they'll clear the way for us. The billionaire agreed. Driss got out of the car, and was immediately pressed down on the front hood by the police. Another police officer asked the billionaire to step out of the car. Driss cried, He's disabled and can't move. Didn't you see how disabled he is? If you don't believe me, there's a wheelchair in the trunk. He's paralyzed. If you don't believe it, check it out. The police officer opened the trunk and indeed found a wheelchair. And now Driss began his show. Do you think I was driving this fast for fun? I'm trying to take him to the hospital. I'm driving this fast, risking my life, in order to save him. The police officer opened the car door, and the billionaire started gasping for breath, followed by foam coming out of his mouth, his head shaking left and right, saliva splattering everywhere. The police officer was stunned. He has never seen anyone this seriously ill before. The officer was at a loss and asked the senior officer, What the fuck should we do, man? The senior officer remained silent. Driss said, Think carefully, guys. Take your time to think. Once you figure it out, call his 15-year-old daughter, and tell her that her father is dead because you stopped my car. If he doesn't receive treatment within 5 minutes, he will undoubtedly die. The senior police officer looked at the billionaire, who was shaking his head left and right before, but now shaking it up and down. All right, let's go. Don't waste time. Driss quickly got back into the car, and the senior police officer suddenly realized, It's all my fault, man. We'll clear the ways for you, and we'll take you to the emergency room of the hospital. Driss agreed to the proposal. The senior police officer shouted out to his subordinates, We'll clear the way in front and behind, and from now on, if you see this car, don't stop it under any circumstances. Driss helped wipe the foam from the billionaire's mouth. This stuff is really disgusting, he exclaimed. How did you get to it so convincingly? That's how the police cleared the way for them. Driss and the billionaire were having a party inside the car, while listening to rock music. Even if the police catch a glimpse of them, they probably think the billionaire is having a seizure or something. When they arrived at the hospital, the police went to find a doctor, but Driss drove away in the car, leaving the police baffled. However, why would a top-level tycoon hire a street hoodlum? It turned out that Driss was a hoodlum, who had once been sentenced to 6 months in prison for robbery. After being released, over 10 members of his family were crammed into a small room, leaving no privacy, not even during bathing. since people stand nearby. One day, Driss came for an interview. The employer was a super rich person, but due to a skydiving accident, he suffered a spinal injury ever since, leaving him paralyzed from the neck down and unable to live independently. He could only hire caregivers. With a generous salary came a continuous stream of applicants. All of them were highly educated, and when asked why they chose this job, some did it for the money, while others valued the human connection and care. Some wanted to take care of a disabled person. However, none of these reasons satisfied the rich employer. When Driss showed up, he stormed in with great momentum, directly stating that, "You just need to sign on this document, since I have to be rejected 3 times to be eligible for unemployment benefits." Afterwards, he didn't forget to hit the beautiful secretary up. The wealthy employer asked him to come back tomorrow to collect the results. When Driss left, he showed no courtesy at all, even telling the wealthy person not to bother getting up to see him off. The next day, Driss arrived on time. The butler took him around the mansion, where even a casually hung painting was worth 1 million euros. Then, he showed him the caregiver's room, featuring a Hermes bed and a luxurious bathtub. Driss was utterly enchanted, his eyes fixed on the extravagance. When he finally met the wealthy employer, the latter said, "I bet you won't last 2 weeks as a caregiver." The provocation worked like magic, and Driss immediately accepted the challenge. Thus, he began his journey as a caregiver. Driss had a hard time adjusting to taking care of the wealthy men. During the training session, he fell asleep. On his first attempt to lift the wealthy men, he almost let him fall from the wheelchair. When it came to giving the men a bath, he mistakenly used shampoo for the feet and foot washing water for shampooing the hair. When he poured a glass of water, he accidentally spilled scalding hot water on the wealthy man's legs. Driss mischievously poured more hot water on the man's legs when he didn't react. Have you had enough fun? Then, there was the task of putting on flesh-colored stockings, and even helping the rich man poop, which Driss found extremely difficult to accept. He kept pushing his own boundaries time and time again. The wealthy man's good friend came to warn that Driss is very dangerous and has a violent tendency, but the wealthy man didn't care. He needed someone to treat him like a normal person, and Driss did just that. One day, the two of them were going to attend an art exhibition. Driss refused to use the designated car, saying, "How can I put you in the back like a horse?" Instead, he carried the wealthy man into the nearby Maserati. Driss hit the gas, ready to leave, but noticed the neighbor's car blocking the entrance. The wealthy man remarked, "He always parks here," treating it like his private parking lot. Upon hearing this, Driss got really fired up and decided to teach the neighbor a lesson. He pulled the neighbor out of his car and pressed him against the no parking sign. "Read it to me." "No parking," he exclaimed. "Never park in front of other people's houses again, you jerk." Driss scolded the neighbor for parking in front of their house. The estate manager thought Driss was being too violent, but the wealthy man was actually quite satisfied with the situation, saying, "This move is not bad at all." The two of them arrived at the art exhibition, where the wealthy man stared at a particular painting for an hour. Driss couldn't understand why someone would consider a piece of art and pay 40,000 euros for it, especially if the painting is like nosebleed onto a paper. Nevertheless, to his surprise, the wealthy man ended up buying the painting. Driss felt astonished, thinking, "Man, a pool of nosebleed is worth 40,000 euros. I could have been a multi-millionaire. Since I've fought so damn much, now I want to draw too." Driss creates a piece of painting. He invites the wealthy man, the butler, and the beautiful secretary to admire his artwork. Everyone found it difficult to put their feelings into words. Upon seeing Driss painting, in the evening, Driss heard a voice coming from the intercom and rushed to the wealthy man's room. He found the man drenched in sweat, breathing heavily, and appearing to be in great pain. The wealthy man kept muttering about needing air. Driss immediately picked him up and took him for a walk by the river. At 4 a.m, they strolled through the streets of Paris, chatting along the way. The wealthy man willingly shared his story, explaining how he defied everyone's objections and went skydiving in harsh weather, which led to his current paralysis. After this night, their bond grew stronger. Driss customized the wheelchair for the wealthy man, and they had a great time, racing their wheelchairs on the streets. Driss even took the men for a special massage, where the lady massaged his ears. Since he couldn't feel anything else, they both enjoyed themselves immensely. Driss discovered that the wealthy man had a pen pal, with whom he had been exchanging letters for 6 months. Encouraging the wealthy man to be bolder, Driss decided to call the pen pal. Despite the wealthy man's initial resistance, he couldn't help but engage in conversation. When he heard the pen pal's voice, they even continued chatting on their phones, while going about their daily tasks. Thanks to Driss' efforts, the pen pal suggested exchanging photos, which left the wealthy man in a dilemma. Should he reveal his paralysis to her? Driss advised him to be honest and send a wheelchair photo. However, when it came time to mailing the photo, the wealthy man chickened out and sent an old standing photo instead. Eventually, the wealthy man and the pen pal decided to meet in person. However, at the last moment, the wealthy man backed out, passing by the pen pal without meeting her. In his heart, he still struggled with feelings of inadequacy. He took Driss onto a private jet. On the plane, a flight attendant brought forth a package. Inside the package was 11,000 euros. It turned out that the wealthy man had hung Driss painting on the wall, and his friends thought it was a masterpiece, and he bought it for 11,000 euros, allowing Driss to make a huge profit. The two of them went paragliding together. The previous second, Driss was refusing and saying, I don't want to. But the next second, he was enjoying his life. What a wonderful experience. After returning home, Driss' younger brother came looking for him. It turned out that Driss' brother had gotten into trouble. In the end, Driss had to take on the responsibility for the entire family. Despite the pain, the wealthy man decided to let Driss resign from his job. The whole family was reluctant to see Driss leave. Driss resolved his younger brother's issues and helped his mother with household chores. With the knowledge he acquired from being with the wealthy man, he successfully found a job. The wealthy man had a tough time. After Driss left, he was dissatisfied with the current caregivers. They always wore white coats, making the wealthy man feel like a patient, constantly reminded of his disability. One of the caregivers even brought in someone for a massage, but it turned out to be a rough man, and the wealthy man sent him away right away. Gradually, he became melancholic and grew out his beard. The butler had no choice but to bring Driss back again. When Driss returned, he saw the wealthy man looking unhappy. Driss decided to take him for a ride to cheer him up, which led to the scene of teasing the traffic police. Driss brought the wealthy man to the seaside, where he could enjoy the vast ocean, and the wealthy man feels better. Driss even shaved his beard for him, and continued to play around. At times, they would dress up as a missionary, or as a Nazi party member, making both of them laugh heartily. However, Driss knew that their time together was limited. After freshening up, Driss brought the wealthy man to a restaurant. Choosing the nicest spot of the sea view, Driss had a mysterious smile on his face, making the wealthy man feel unease. Then, Driss solemnly said, Philip, I won't stay here for the meal, but don't worry, I won't leave you alone here. I believe you have an important appointment. The wealthy man was puzzled, and Driss reassured him, don't be nervous, you'll be fine. This time, you can't slip away. After saying this, Driss walked out. The wealthy man called out Driss' name, but Driss didn't return. The wealthy man couldn't understand, and felt like he was being played with. He started getting angry. At that moment, a lady came gracefully, greeting the wealthy man. The wealthy man's eyes widened, as he recognized her as his admired pen pal. He instantly understood what Driss meant. The wealthy man smiled, and looked out of the window, where Driss stood with a smile, waving to bid farewell. In the wealthy man's eyes, there shimmered tears of heartfelt gratitude. Despite the differences in their social status, skin color, wealth, and age. But in this world, Driss understood him the most, and Driss understood that he won't be able to take care of the wealthy man forever, and it's the best if the woman who he loves the most can accompany him throughout his life. The movie is called Intouchables. Question for the day: do you have a friend like Driss to the wealthy man? If yes, comment 111. If no, comment 222. The movie is based on a true story. The wealthy man and Driss remained lifelong close friends, and continue to stay in touch. True friendship transcends social status and positions. What matters most is that they understand each other. Hopefully, each one of us can find someone who truly understands us. This film will undoubtedly leave a lasting impact on the hearts of the audience, inspiring those facing challenges to pursue their own beautiful lives. Fantastic movie. I highly recommend you watching the original film. Don't forget to give a thumbs up, and subscribe and follow for more content. See you in the next episode. Bye.